Sure.
I'm talking about from an American perspective. Discard the rest of the world. Is it wrong to be an English nationalist? I want everybody in America to fucking speak English. Is that wrong?
I mean, I do believe that, since it is the national language, it should be the language.
And okay, and this is how I see things. Everybody's fighting a different war. This is my war. It's English. It's bad use of media, cell phones, but English is a big part of it, and I find it's very. I mean, So grid, you're on board. English nationalist.
I mean, it really annoys me.
It does, right? You go to Netflix, you're like, what the fuck? I got subtitles. What the fuck is that?
I wouldn't refer to myself as an English nationalist. But
that's fair. I'm creating that term right now in its. I'm creating it wholesale right now. It's
well, I agree with the principle.
Huh? The principle of people in America should speak English. Speak English in America. Yeah, that's probably good. Probably a good thing. Try to do it. I'm happy for tourists. Let's come in, but
Cam, I gotta be honest with you, man. I think maybe you had just a touch too much caffeine today. You haven't.
Oh no. I think you're. I've been on your show. I think you're hearing the sickness come out of me because I have to take.
No. It's just watching you move, man. You were like
no. Yeah. Because I normally chat to you from resting, but I have a lung or a respiratory infection, so I'm on a standing desk. So you see me doing this.
Well,
you think that's
got that
caffeine?
Part.
No, that's not the thing. No. My thing is, if you're seeing me, just listen to my voice, because you've been down before. English is what we should speak in America. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I got that part.
Okay.
But, okay.
All right.
Little. You're very like. You're very.
No, dude.
You're very
launch
excited.
it. Launch whatever you want, bro. Yeah. This is my time I work. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, dude. Software. You got the India guys. Yeah.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, I'm not working. I mean, I am working. Technically.
Well, no, I'm saying I'm an all day guy. It's unfortunate. It's a terrible way to work.
I bet.
It definitely is. Grid. I aspire to do whatever I want, like you.
That's actually it's actually an interesting thing that I never really realized that's what I did. That because I kind of always did what I wanted anyway. I just had to work, really, really hard.
Yeah, you put it in. Yeah,
I enjoyed my work. I'm very fond of saying I never had an adult job. Like I didn't punch a clock, right? Like I didn't, I mean, I did occasionally have a, pissant boss here and there, but
sometimes you got to get up in the middle of the night and do something though. Sometimes, right?
Well, I mean, there were, not like in 2010 or it's probably 2011. I built a second car in 2 weeks, and I didn't sleep for like a week.
Yep. That's where I'm at. Yep.
And so I was literally, I had been awake for like 3 days, which is, you're not supposed to do that. And I couldn't weld. This is something that I do at that time I was doing every single day. I would weld and cut and just do whatever. And I was over there trying to weld, and I could not weld. And my wife actually came down and made me go to bed or not go to bed, but go sleep on the couch in my office for 3 hours. She's like, just take 3 hours, go sleep. And I got right back up and I kept working. And and there was a lot of times like that in my career where I had no choice because, when somebody pays, for example, like 20 grand for me to have a car at a track to go around a track, to make circles and laps to, you know, that's what they paid for. There really isn't much calling them up and saying, "Hey, man, not making it."
That
It
you can't say let's reschedule. That's
no,
not how
it
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 works. Yeah.
has to happen,
Yeah.
and I think that the problem with a lot of society is that nothing has to happen. If you don't finish your work today, it's cool, no big deal. Nobody, nobody's gonna be. I mean, people will be unhappy, but that's about it. And or there'll be somebody else that can do it. But in my particular profession, there wasn't anybody else that could do it. I couldn't
Yeah.
call somebody. If I got sick, it didn't matter. I had to go to work. I had to go get my stuff done.
Oh,
Um,
that's how I'm doing right now, my bro. Yeah.
and so it's there's a lot of truth to the expression "work like others won't, so you can live like others can't." And yeah, that's a real thing.
Well,
I believe
I
that.
mean, do you think that's the real thing? Like work like others don't, so others can't. What if I think that if I don't do it, I'm sick right now. If I don't show up here in the next 4 or 5 hours, that's gonna have a impediment to what I'm doing,
Mhm.
right? So it's others could do that, but they might not be willing to. They're just gonna take the next day. They're gonna take a sick day. I mean, I
Sure.
don't know why I'm fucking on here right now. I mean, because you're live, I guess. but that's an interesting. It's an interesting thing. It's like you do what you're passionate about, right? That's where the
If you're
important.
lucky.
That's well, yeah, but eventually, though, if you do what you're passionate about, it can turn into something. If you're not fucking lazy, like it can. You just don't. You can't have one stream. There can't be one. You gotta have like a fucking shotgun of shit, right? So, well, or like 4 or 5 or whatever the retard studies would say. Have this many streams of interest. You do the ones that are good enough to you to be interested and prevent income or provide income. Sorry.
Tyler and Kim, though, don't you think, I'm Melissa, by the way, or Arthro D in the chat. Don't you think, though, that the way you treat your job will basically set for your employer how valuable you are to your job? I mean, if you want to make yourself a replaceable person who comes in 9 to 5, you kind of do as good a job as anyone else. And if you call in
No,
sick, someone else
no,
could
no,
come
no,
in and
no,
do
no.
it. I mean,
Absolutely not. You do whatever your job is. If you have a job, you do that to the best of your ability, but you do more so that you could go somewhere else if your other job isn't absorbing your skill to its max level. You you go shotgun. That's how it goes. Now, that doesn't mean you can't be lazy sometimes or can't do other stuff sometimes, but if they don't appreciate you, that's another thing. You need to have some fucking things that you enjoy that go in all directions. Does that make sense?
mean, it makes sense that certainly you want a boss is actually appreciating what you're putting in, but at the same time, if you're not putting in that passion and that drive and that perfectionism,
Well, I just said that
yeah,
though.
that
You're
drives you
just
to do that.
you're making a point that I already said. I already said if you're passionate.
Hmm.
I qualified that. I qualified if you're passionate. I didn't say I wasn't passionate.
I'll
What are you
I'll tell you
talking
that
about?
passion only takes you so far. At some point,
No,
you just
no,
have to.
you have to have grit. There is grit, but you do get to a point where grit and passion meet. Now, I'm 37. So, what I will say is, I'm at the point where I have grit and passion in 2 or 3 directions. There's also some shit that's not that great, but there is passion and grit. They can meet the same place, right?
Hmm.
Would you disagree?
Absolutely, but I do think it's important that
You disagree
personally, when
that
you're
hang on. You disagree that passion and grit are separate?
Not necessarily, no. I think that you certainly
Well, you
need
just
that
said
passion
you
and
said
that
you agree.
motivation.
You're
But
kind of
there's
just saying
also an
words, man.
element of just commitment and consistency that a lot of people don't have. And when shit gets hard and they don't feel like doing it and the passion has gone, they just time out and quit.
Well,
And I
yeah,
think
that's
there
called
does
being
come a
lazy. I
point
don't know
where
what
you
you're
push
saying. You're
yourself
saying
to keep
nothing.
going and keep going no matter
You are
what.
saying, what are you saying? You're saying people don't like to do what they do, so they quit. That I don't give a shit. What are you saying?
Don't interrupt her and don't talk to her like that, please. Thank you.
Well, all right, okay, that's
Oh,
fair.
hold on,
Josie,
hold on.
I appreciate
Oh,
your rebuke, but I will be
Josie
quiet.
looks like she's gonna kill Cam
I'm
like
not
right
gonna-
now.
No,
Like,
but I
laser
think
eyes out of the eyes
couple of
into
things,
Cam's eyes,
couple
and
of things.
his head just explodes.
It
Couple
just
of
seemed
things.
dumb. I will let you go though. Please,
Cam-
I
for example,
I apologize.
absolutely I
Thank
love
you.
what I
I
do.
apologize. I apologize.
No,
Okay,
you're
cool.
good, Cam. Don't worry about it.
Cool.
I love what I do. There's a lot of times I'm completely passionate and love, and I'm super happy to go into work and do what I do. There's also times where it just sucks. I'm tired. I don't want to be there. But I can't stop at that point. And there's
Melissa,
you have
your
to be
mic
able to
is a little
grit through.
low. You're-
Can you hear me better? I don't know if I can get closer.
Yes, but yeah, just move a little closer.
Move
Yeah,
closer,
that's
maybe.
right.
So there has to be times where you push yourself, even when you don't feel like doing what you're supposed to be doing, because you know there's a long-term benefit to it. And it's people that have that consistency and that commitment that will always overcome people who have these sort of flares of motivation and passion intermittently. It's really hard to maintain wild passion for what you're doing day in and day out. It just doesn't happen.
No, that's actually really. I don't actually think that's true. If you like what you're doing in the end result, I get what you're saying. That like, hey, I want to do this thing temporarily for a company, and I'm going to push this thing because I think it's good. But a grid can step in here. It's hard and it can feel dispassionate at points. But if you like what you're doing, here's how I would describe it. If you're a fucking if you're doing what you would like to have done it as a child, if you're fucking and I apologize for the profanity here.
I could outdo you, but I restrain myself.
I know. I apologize. It's a bad habit of mine. But if you're doing what you like to do, it still gets tiring. It still becomes tiring sometimes, but you want to accomplish the end goal. If what you're working for, I don't know, if you're working for a company that's trying to accomplish a goal you don't agree with, that's when it gets really messed up. So I think you're separating those two things. And that's kind of, I'm not sure what you're saying here.
Well,
Yes, everybody gets tired. Everybody gets tired on every level.
Cam,
it's when you're pushing through that tiredness. So like you take grid 1, he's up at freaking 2 a.m. still working on a car when he'd probably like to have gone to get some dinner and go to bed, but he pushes through that tiredness for the greater goal of building an incredible race car. Right? I agree. Because ultimately, he does have passion for that as his job and his sport.
And I want to be clear about something because it may seem like I'm yelling. I'm not. I have a lung infection, so if it seems like I'm yelling, that's not what's going on here.
I think I have a lung infection. Some respiratory therapy, bro.
Hey guys,
I'm doing it. I've got hypertonic. I've got hypertonic solution, so we're good. I'm just saying. I'm not yelling. I'm just trying to speak
Tolerant
louder
Cam
for you
had
to
a
hear
lung
it.
infection. I wasn't aware of that personally. I'm glad he told me.
Well, I'm just saying because I thought you were going to say I'm yelling or being too loud. I don't know how to deal with it. If you want me to drop off, I will.
Just briefly,
we like you. You're a passionate debater. So
if you're talking about like upward mobility and like some like large company, you have to realize that the actual amount of work you put in is pretty much it's secondary to the perception of putting in work. I've actually seen this happen.
I would call it it's kin selection. People promote people they like. I agree with that.
Well, it's basically all up to the perception of getting work done, or even just so when it's results based, that's different. But in most of these companies, like say McDonald's, for instance, you aren't going to have like that big of a gap between the, I guess, the people who are putting in a little and the people who are putting in a lot.
Yeah, managers
and
versus burger flippers.
and
There's not
well,
a big difference.
well, no, I mean the
No,
people who
you're
are on
right.
like
You
the
are right.
line.
You are right.
Hey,
So
Cam, calm down, buddy.
the perception of putting in work is necessary. I've actually seen cases where people get promoted purely for the perception, and for that reason, I think that if you're talking about like advancement in a big company, to talk about like passion and grit and putting in work, that's like not really relevant.
And if
You
you're
just
going
have
to
to
play into that
ingratiate
company
yourself to the right
culture,
people.
if you're going to play into that company culture, you're probably going to find that. But that's where you have the opportunity to learn what you can from that company and then step out on your own and be an entrepreneur and start your own business in that area.
So
And there's
not
many people who do that, but that takes risk and it takes a lot of hard work to really make that happen.
so two things.
So where am I wrong here though?
So first of all, Sport Brand is right. Blood Meridian is really good. Now, second of all, that's another book. And this is the time I come in and talk about all my books. You should have seen me on the Speakeasy panel where I just start listing off metal albums. But okay, eventually he got mad at me. So the whole talk about like grit and effort, like that, honestly, this just seems like boomerisms to me. Maybe it's just a generational gap. I don't view incredibly hard work as particularly virtuous, and I especially disagree.
Stupid.
And I certainly disagree quite a bit that what you were saying before about entrepreneurship, like the topic of entrepreneurship is very interesting. There's this guy Ryan Turnipseed who's done a few streams on this with Radical Liberation, who's like an anarchist. Very interesting people, both of them. And the fact is, like, most people just aren't cut out to be entrepreneurs. The ability to be a successful entrepreneur is like something that nobody really gets. But there's like a specific subset of people who have like this weird urge to constantly start new businesses, and like one of them might actually work. But it's not common. Like you can't like get up in the morning and be like, I'm gonna be an entrepreneur. It just doesn't work like that. You're either an entrepreneur or you're not. And well, I suppose it could be trained in some people, but it doesn't appear that that's common or applies to most people at all.
There's actually a book called The Hypomanic Edge, which
Never heard of it.
I don't know if have you read it? So if you haven't read it, it basically goes through a number of very successful entrepreneurs and businessmen, and it postulates that it goes through that each of them had bipolar disease of a mild form, and bipolar disease is fluctuation between a sort of hypermanic stage and in in type I think it's type 1. It's like you're wild, you're out having random sex, you're gambling, you're spending money, you're hallucinating. In the more mild form, you just simply have a lot of energy, and then you fluctuate between that and depression. And so they cycle between depression and hypomania, depression and hypomania. And when they're in their hypomanic phases, they hardly need to sleep, they hardly need to eat, they get all this shit done, they're incredibly creative. And a lot of entrepreneurs, based on this book, have those characteristics in them. And I don't know that you have to actually be hypomanic, but it takes almost a hypomanic level of work for many entrepreneurs to actually succeed. I mean, they're busting it, easily 18, 20 hours a day sometimes trying to get their business to run efficiently in the beginning. And if you're not willing to do that, most businesses aren't gonna run. I mean, you really can't plan on working a 9 to 5 and be an entrepreneur. It just doesn't work that way.
So have you ever heard of Frank Amadeo?
No.
So he's a crazy person. He attempted to take over the world, or at least the U.S. economy, via this complicated purchasing and then reselling of different businesses, basically.
Mhm.
by slowly accumulating wealth. And he was, I believe, bipolar. He did have these rapid swings. Now, when I say he was trying to do this, what I mean is it looked like his strategy was definitely doing something that the U.S. government didn't like, because they threw him in jail after drugging him up during his trial, where he wasn't able to defend himself because he was drugged up. Very
Mhm.
interesting guy to look into. And that sort of goes to your point about people who, you know, have these have this sorry, who have like a milder form of bipolar. I do buy that, although I'm not sure if it
Mhm.
always applies.
And I think, to me, there's nothing wrong if you want to work a 9 to 5 job and come home and see your wife and your kids, and that's the life that you desire. I don't have a problem with that. We need people like that who want to come in and be the worker bees and get shit done. There's nothing wrong with that. You're still providing for your family. That's very admirable. But if you want to be that sort of next level businessman, I think you've got to put the work in. I don't think there's any way around that. And
So
same
I
if you want to be an overachiever in any field, whether you're a physicist or a scientist or whatever, you've got to put that in.
So I have some experience on both sides of this fence. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I start a business, or I invest in a business, I grow it, I sell it, or close it down, whatever needs to be done. I've only
That is
had
the
one
term
or
used for people
huh?
like that. That is the term used for people who do that. Serial entrepreneur.
Mhm.
Right. And I think that if you're an entrepreneur, more than likely you're a serial. If you're a real entrepreneur, you are a serial entrepreneur.
Most
Period.
are. Like Elon Musk, he's got his Neuralink and his spaceship and his Tesla and
Sure.
everything. I mean, he's all over the place, right? He doesn't focus on any one thing.
And then but a lot of people are just drones. And I use that term not derogatory at all. I literally mean they're just part of the matrix, going through the motions every single day, living their lives. There's nothing wrong with that. There absolutely is nothing wrong with that. And I think that most people, should probably kind of stay in their lane if that's who they are. And you, at some point, you probably understand who you are. You want more, but no matter what you seem to do, you can't get there because you run out of talent, or you run out of dedication, or you run out of ability. One of the three things that you really need, you don't have. And you may not have any of them. May just be able to just go to work and barely get by. And unfortunately, that is the reality of society. When my wife works in an office and she sees all of this stuff going on, and because of her association with me, she is more like an entrepreneur, which has helped her continuously move forward in her career. However, she's exactly like who she is and who she was meant to be, and that is a corporate, kind of a high level, high functioning corporate person who can navigate all of these different paths, right? She can see the path that you were talking about earlier, where you go to work every day, you work in the office, and you put in X amount of work, but you don't necessarily, and anything more or less than that is a waste of your time. You put in less, people notice. You put in more, people don't care. So the people that decide your bonus, your next advancement, they don't care. It's not about that. It's not about being excellent. It's about being adequate. And that is the crux of the problem in most positions today. But it's really not a problem, because for the most of history, all you needed to do was be adequate. You did not need to excel to survive and have a reasonably good life.
So
Only a specific number of people had to excel, and those people still do. As a matter of fact, you can make the argument that people through education and through training are able to excel more than they ever have before or ever would have at any point in history. And I
So,
think that's pretty clear.
But
so
here's
Grid,
the cross-
totally agree. Hey, hang on. Grid, totally agree. Have you ever brought people from one of your entrepreneurial enterprises, startups, whatever, to another? Have you
No.
ever? Oh, interesting. What would you say that is, though? If you bring
Do you
somebody
have a
from
top
one
guy?
thing,
Sorry?
Do you have a top guy? Do you
No.
have a guy you go to when you have to get things done?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay.
I'm guessing
Interesting.
Grid One probably set up his business and then trained people to run it and then delegated that to them before he then moved on to his next.
yeah.
business.
So that's
Like,
kind of
he
my
didn't
question.
We can talk about that. We can talk about how
And
I
that's
ran
kind of my
those.
question is the way that I have viewed things is as I have done things. I started in like cell phone sales, moved on to management, technician sales, district management, all this stuff, and then I brought people with me to private startups. And it sounds like you're just been at the top the whole time. But I'm just kind of curious about the delineation there. Like, how do you decide how to hire people in your business? I tend to just hire people that I trust.
Why would you do that?
Well, unfortunately, sometimes they do bad. Sometimes they do bad. Sometimes they do the best, but they bring other people in that are very good because people have, whatever. They have a bad divorce. They get drunk.
Okay.
They get fucking retarded. I fire them, but I keep their subverts up with me.
Okay, so here's how. And now keep in mind that I was in a very.
And I'm just curious. how you do it.
I
Yeah.
was in a multitude of different spheres with different skills and different ability requirements, right?
Oh yeah,
So-
yeah. I get you. Yeah.
I owned a service shop, which basically did brake jobs, tune-ups, exhaust, swap some engines around, just basic automotive maintenance and service. I never went there when I didn't have to. I didn't like it. It wasn't what I wanted to do. I didn't care anything about it. As long as it made money, I didn't care. The minute the minute I couldn't keep a manager in there that wouldn't steal me blind or underperform, I sold it because it was worthless to me.
Okay. Hang on.
That's the number one
So-
thing. That's the number one mistake that people is they think they can save something that they can't save, and the minute it's a problem, it needs to go away.
But
Gotta
you
go.
worked in a sphere where there was no trial. You had to have skill, right?
Right. We hired people. Well, I mean,
Okay.
so no, I mean,
Like, I did
mechanics
sales,
fly
like,
all the time.
I've done my career in sales, right? Mostly, but it seems like you've done your career in skill. There's
Yeah.
sales is a skill, but you've done yours in actual skill. So there's a big delineation there. Okay.
Well, hold on.
Okay.
If you got to calm down, man, you got to give me time to answer.
No,
Um,
I got you.
Cam.
No,
The-
I'm calm. You guys think I'm not calm? I'm just I
I
have
do
to
think you're
yell.
not
I have to
calm.
yell because I'm sick.
That's okay.
Thank goodness he told me he was sick. I didn't know that.
I was wondering.
So,
So,
you
why
guys-
are
you
you
guys keep telling
smoking
me
a
to calm
blunt on
down.
camera?
You keep calling me. You keep telling me to calm down. I'm calm.
well, you're,
I
you're-
just
you're
have to.
pacing. You're pacing
You're
a
smoking
lot.
a blunt
Got a
on
hospital
camera.
of sick people.
I'm not
None of
smoking
them
a
pace
blunt.
the floors as much as
I'm
you
not
do.
smoking. Wait, who told me I'm smoking a blunt? I'm smoking a
Hey,
cigarette.
guy,
Motherfuckers.
hey, I'm trying to answer the question here. So,
And
I
you're
ain't smoking no
bouncing more
blunt.
than a hip hop video. What's
If you
up?
think, all right, I'll turn my video. You think I'm smoking a blunt? I'm smoking a cigarette. That's all. That's all that's going on.
okay, that's fine.
Calm
I-
down.
Totally
trying to
logical with a
Do you want me to
major
drop?
respiratory
I'll drop. I
infection.
can drop. I can drop.
Jim, it's cool. Just let me answer. You asked me a question. I want to try and answer a question.
Yeah. Okay. That's weird, but okay.
All right. So here's the thing.
Great. I love you, man.
Yeah. All right. So here's the thing. So the body shop, I bought that. It was underperforming. It wasn't making the money it should have made. I looked at it. I figured out how many cars should be going through with the amount of volume we had, with the amount of people we could put in place. And it was simple numbers. And I just put those people in there. I went to the number one person, the most important person in the entire facility was the two service writers or estimators. Those were the two number. They were the entire operation. I brought one of them from I bought one of them from Cadillac. He was making 80 grand a year. I paid him 100 to come work for me, and the other one I got from another GM dealer, and he was making about. I think he was making less. I think he was only making like 60, and I bought him for like 85 or 90, and he eventually made about 100, 110. I tied all of their earnings to performance, like all of it. Like they made nothing on their paycheck, but if they hit their marks, their bonus schedule was amazing. It was crazy. They could make a ton of money, and they did. I then went around to every single rental car place. I had contracts with the city, the county, the police department. I had contracts with anybody that operated vehicles that might get damaged. We did work on mail vehicles. So, the mail trucks that people drive into all the time. About once a year, they would fix one of them and they'd send it over and we'd do it. And, they bill in the government. So you don't see it for 90 days, but it comes through. And that's what I did. I literally just made the most efficient package to the point where it became, an auto body shop is basically a 24/7 ATM. You can just take money out of because it just makes money. But I never liked being there. I didn't like that. It wasn't what I wanted to do. And, the only time I was ever really there is if there was a problem and I needed to fire someone. And they would call me up and say, hey, got to fire the painter again. Guy's high on crack. I'd go fire him.
No, I get that.
All painters are drug addicts. I mean, that's the number one thing I learned was all painters are drug addicts.
Well, so are all cell phone technicians. That's what I did. I hired cell phone techs. Same exact thing. Bring your cell phone in, get it fixed. Same thing.
So given the sort of stuff that Pablo Picasso came out with, I don't really find that surprising.
So I spent all of my time in the race shop, and I had a tuning shop when I was in Denver as well, and it made me money for a while. It was okay, and then we started, the economy went the wrong direction, and we started having chargebacks and guys disputing credit card charges, and it became kind of a hassle. So I kind of folded that into the race shop at one point, but it made me a lot of money to start out with, and the race shop is where I was at, and that was my main focus. That's the only thing that's actually all I cared about. Everything else grew out of the race shop because I needed a paint and body shop because we damaged cars. I needed a service shop because I needed to be able to send the trucks over to get service, so the guys that worked on the race cars didn't have to do it and didn't have to take time out of it, and I didn't want to pay Kenworth to do it. So I mean, it's just one of those things where I built that little empire out of more or less my cheapness and being able to see the value in it. Now I ran them brutally, absolutely brutal. I would fire you for almost nothing because you were infinitely replaceable. There's always another auto tech. There's always another body shop guy that I went down to the community college and the Votech school. Both had auto body and mechanic programs. And I literally told they don't call them guidance counselors anymore. They call them career advisors. I told the guy, I said, look, if you have a guy that shows any talent for spraying paint or fixing cars, just send them over to these, to this separate locations, and they've got it. They're hired on the spot. Like, just tell this office girl that I said they have a job, and we would hire them on the spot. And I sent those guys $100 every Christmas with a can of nuts or whatever.
No,
candy.
I think I'm following what you're saying here, and my kind of original point was, do you hire people that you trust? You're saying no.
I hired people that could do the job.
I get that, right? Even if you think they can do the job, They may not have the work ethic, and I think it's a good lesson that I have learned in my life. I have hired people that I think I trust. I think they can do the job, but they don't have the good work ethic. In fact, I think they could do the job, but they're shit at doing the work. It's an interesting perspective I have learned over the course of my time, where I'm like, I don't want anybody I care about in my realm of money, because I want to kick them out. I mean, it's callous, but it seems to turn against you. And then I'm kind of just, just kind of curious about how your life has went with that, because mine has been kick them out of your space. Have dinners with them, have a
Oh
barbecue,
no.
have fun with
Mm-mm.
them. But if you bring them into your workspace, they kind of crap it up.
Well, you can never. I never really socialized with any of my employees ever.
No, the opposite. I'm saying bringing them in. So the people
No,
you're socializing with, those are the people you don't bring in,
no,
because so I've made that mistake, and that's
we're
let me
not friends.
delineate the skill. Yeah, it's let me delineate the skill versus the people I enjoy. if
Well, I
that
don't
makes
enjoy
sense.
people. Period. Really, to be honest
Well,
with you.
yeah,
And
you have a wife though.
I have like two. I have two people that I could call friends, and an argument could be made. Only one of them is my actual friend. The other one's a longtime acquaintance.
Yeah,
And
you
I
get
don't
like
believe that.
5.
I don't believe that men should have more than one or two close friends ever.
It's too
If
hard.
you,
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with this.
I'm gonna imagine it's a problem if you're bringing in your buddies, though. They're gonna expect some sort of special treatment, a little
Oh,
extra salary. I mean, they're gonna expect perks of being your friend, right?
yeah, it's called the Chicago White Sox. If you like baseball, just look at that. Just you can go for that.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't. I mean, again, I mean that's just the way I did it. That's the way I made all of my decisions. As a matter of fact, I never really. A lot of times for a lot of these places, I never hired anybody. I told you, I literally had the guidance. I mean, we would bring in people and just hire them on a spot, train them. If they worked out, great. If they didn't, they would just move on. They would go somewhere else.
No, yeah, and so like my thing about, if you're going to start a company, so I'm doing one right now. My thing is hierarchy. I think people should be able to fire people for whatever. Like, they're just not working out, get them going. Push them out. It's, you bring people in. I don't understand this thing where you give people trials and trials and trials. Things are not skill based enough. They're like degrees, all this stuff. I
Yeah, I didn't care about degrees.
So how
no,
are
yeah,
both of you-
that's what I'm saying is, but the thing is, there's kind of a risk in doing that. If you're trying to go to a large public offset, people want you to have these like public mottos and stuff. If somebody's not working out, I just want to fucking get them going. Apologize for the language, but if they're not working out, go. Just, I don't want to give a reason. Just go.
But how do you guys address what is, I think, the biggest problem right now with the American workforce is that what I hear employers say is they can't find good workers. No one wants to work, and nobody has the skill level that they need to come in and do the work.
It's the risk.
How do we
I don't buy
fix
that.
Yeah,
It's the
I don't
risk.
buy that at all.
They would train people. These companies would train people. If there was an HR, if there wasn't this garbage going on, they would train people if they could kick them out at any time.
So okay,
That's my thought.
this is what I've seen, Melissa.
Mhm.
I've seen people who are younger saying they can't find good work, and I've seen companies saying they can't find good workers. Obviously, somebody's lying here, and my gut tells me it's probably the companies.
No, it's
I'm-
neither. It's neither.
Hold on,
You-
Cam.
Okay.
Adam's talking, man. Adam's talking. Let him go.
Well, reason for, well, I guess it's just my innate distrust of large companies, but it's also so I think that people are getting used to being seen as replaceable in some sense. And when that happens, I think that a lot of people just get less interested in getting in with these companies, maybe to a degree, which could be an explanation for the for the companies saying that. Because so I like everybody basically knows about, you know, like the low level position, the practices that some of these larger companies will have is they'll constantly have an advertisement for jobs up, even though they have all the jobs filled, so that they can constantly cycle people. And sort of what Grid One was saying about, you know, just being willing to uh, fire somebody on a whim. Well, not on a whim, but if they're not performing well enough.
Hmm.
But again, um,
But
and
but
and
what you're
and,
saying though,
and Grid One can correct me. But it seems to me that it isn't. It isn't the quality of work; it's the perception of quality. Obviously, if you're working on a car, it's a lot easier to tell if somebody's fucking up than in other positions. But still, it's not based on quality; it's based on perception.
But you're saying so. Tolerant Cam and Grid One just said the way they have successfully run their companies was they would quickly get rid of anyone who was underperforming. But you're saying that's the problem of why we can't find good workers because the companies kind of cycle through people, and if you're not performing, you're out. We'll find somebody else. You're saying
Uh,
that's the problem.
to a degree, yeah.
They're saying
Um,
that's how they ran a successful business.
Well,
I
yeah. So this is perverse incentives, or you
Mhm.
know, companies that have to operate a certain way to keep operating. The incentive is for them to do one thing, and the incentive for the workers to get better is another. Um, it's a negative
Well,
feedback loop, basically.
I think you're forgetting the part where when you hire somebody, they claim they can do something. Sometimes they can't. You got to boot them.
So I'm gonna put this out there, and you know, it's I don't think this is a particularly controversial or even new or anything like. But here's the thing: our our, our worker shortage is not because there aren't enough people that that are available to do the job. It's there's not enough people that can do the job, at least presenting themselves to do the job. And and it's very industry dependent. Like for the past 4 years, we've been told there was a trucker shortage, and there have been people lined up at truck driver schools ever since and going into debt buying trucks to ship things across the country. Now, there was not at any time a trucker shortage, not even a little bit. There was bad scheduling, there's high fuel costs, there's a lot of reasons why things weren't getting delivered as quickly as we wanted them to, but it wasn't because there weren't enough trucks. Right now, there's trucking companies closing their doors, and I mean large ones. We're talking companies with 150, 200 trucks. Yellow Freight, which is an old, like 30-year-old company, shut down earlier this year, and I think they were like 1,000 truck fleet or something. They were huge, and they'd actually run so much. They were so out of cash that they let the trucks that their drivers literally parked the trucks and walked away. They were literally told to just lock them up and walk away by the company. They didn't do it and they didn't do it to be mean. They were literally told, "We can't pay for the fuel for you to get home. So lock the truck up, leave it where it is. We'll deal with it later." So this is an interesting dilemma in that specific industry, but it's echoed across all the industries. You realize right now that less than 1% of realtors in the past, I think it's 180 to, it might be the last, I think it's the last 180 days. Less than 1% of the realtors have made a sale. One sold a house. I mean, like that's a low number. Like most of them are used to selling a lot. I actually know my one of my local realtors was top in his division. He sold 5 homes. That's pathetic. Pathetic. But yet you're told every day that there's a housing shortage and that the home values are rocketing out of sight and you should go buy one. That's not true. So what you need to do is you have to be very good at sourcing information and parsing it and understanding what's going on. Yes, people are out of work right now because they chose poorly the jobs they took. Um, to some degree, people are also out of work because companies chose poorly when they hired that person to do the job. Or they just lied to each other. I don't know. Yeah, it could go either way. Doctors' offices are closing. Healthcare centers are in trouble, are in financial trouble. You can't pick an industry right now that you can say is 100% financially solvent. Goldman Sachs, which is the leading investment bank in the world, laid off, I think, 3,000 people at the beginning of last year. Credit Suisse, which was the number 4 of the top 5 investment banking firms, sold out. They closed. They basically went broke. So this is a system issue. This is not we can't find people to work. This is we can't find people we want to hire and we don't want to pay them when we do, or we can't pay them. Most of the time it's that they can't pay them, honestly. I think most companies are in real trouble. So that's my perception, and that's the way I read the industry, and that's where I'm putting my money right now. I'm putting my money. Most of the things I'm doing right now are exceedingly low risk because there's going to be massive changes. As far as keeping people employed, as far as especially corporations right now are in a lot of trouble. A lot. Fortunately, for most of them, the stock market is going to come back since real estate has become a bad bet. People with money will move it into the stock market eventually. It's going to come back. Corporations will have money again, and things will go ahead. The interesting thing about all of this is just how bad the public perception is. When you have a solid year where there are no startups going IPO, that is incredibly telling for the business environment in the country. Not one company went IPO. Not this year. It was a year or so ago. But that you can't unravel one from the other. You can't say, well, there's a shortage of workers. Well, no, there really isn't. We haven't. Do we have less people? No. We have less qualified people. No. Matter of fact, we have more people graduating college or high school every day. Lots of people to go work. Do we have a shortage of jobs? Yeah, probably we do. Do we have a shortage of people that are interested in working? Absolutely. Do we have a gluttony of people who are out making OnlyFans content and trying to be various types of creators? Like I'm doing this because I'm retired and I can fuck around and do it. But there are people out there right now. There's a kid in my son's scout troop that isn't interested in going to college, isn't interested in doing anything because he's going to be an e-gamer and a streamer, and that's how he's going to make it. That's how he's going to make his money. He really thinks that. He literally believes it. He's not. He's going to fail miserably, but that's beside the point.
That's the fucking thing, though.
Nah, he's going to be the next ninja. He's going to be pro Fortnite player.
No,
I'm
it's a
calling it
problem
right now.
though that a very large percentage of I think
Yeah,
it's
maybe.
alpha is these like young teenagers, early teens. Their ideal job is being a content creator on Instagram or YouTube or something because they see people that are a very tiny percent who have made it big in those areas.
Well, I don't really see that phenomenon as significant. There's always, like, for instance, when I was a kid, like when I was really young, I wanted to be an astronaut. Um, so I don't like to talk about my personal life, but I'm fine with saying I'm not an astronaut. All right. And it's just it's the same for actors. There's always an incredibly small minority who actually make it, but that's always a small minority. I don't think that people looking up to modern celebrities is a sign of anything negative going on.
Oh, I don't think that they're
Yeah,
looking up to celebrities. I think that what they're doing is they're making a game plan based on something that's not a reality.
Yeah, that's different, and that's
yeah.
stupid.
The issue there is a blurring between people and celebrities, right, Adam? Like, would you agree with that? Like, there's a huge difference between. I don't know when you were born, but I was born in 1986. If I think about like celebrities, they were top tier. Now I think about them, I think they're pretty much losers. Like these Instagram people, all this shit, I view them as losers.
I think you're right that there's a blurring in that people who are on like YouTube and Instagram, there's this sort of sense of faux connection to them. Like you feel like you're more their friend because you're
More
seeing all
direct
this daily
interaction, yeah.
content from them. Whereas like a true celebrity, like an A-list movie star, a Julia Roberts, I mean, she's completely unattainable for me to ever have a conversation with.
But
I
they're
can
all
go and
losers.
DM
They're all
some
different than you,
No, I
though.
agree. They're losers. But I think you're right that there's this blurring where they feel like they're more attainable because they appear so when you're able to kind of message them and interact with their content
Well,
and whatever. I do think that's a true statement that you just said.
and when I say they're all losers, I want to be clear. There are talented people in those industries, but it has got to corporate financialism, nepotism, familyism, all that shit. There are people that are talented, but it is bad now. It's I don't know how else to describe it. It's destroyed, and that applies. People think of that in Hollywood. Almost all people agree. Yeah, Hollywood's getting bad, but if you look at the other end, that's happening to science as well. That is happening at the same fucking level on science. These people they're just, I don't know, they're just doing the, they're just
No,
doing
you're right. The
repetition.
libs haven't dated academia, so now all the scientists have all these like woke beliefs, and they start twisting their scientific theories to fit those beliefs, right?
They don't want to be wrong. Like, there's like, oh, I got educated. I don't want to be wrong. Well, fuck that. Here's the goal. Be wrong. Keep being wrong. That's the fucking goal. Be wrong until you're right. Fuck. Sorry.
What?
Oh, well, be wrong until you're right.
Okay.
You understand this, right? Like,
Be wrong until you're right.
Be wrong. Like, pursue your things. This is science. This is how science works. Religion works like this also. Pursue it until you're wrong, and then you go the other direction. Is that not how things work? To explore, to continually doubt everything you think about?
Certainly in scientists, I mean, in true science, you come up with the best explaining theory, and then you work to prove that either right or wrong, and you try to fit evidence to either fit that theory or disprove it, if that's what you're getting at.
Well, no, what I'm getting at is you could always be wrong. Like, people think they're right about shit. You could always be wrong. You should pursue that to the indefinite.
Yeah.
I don't understand what you're saying. You should pursue being wrong to the indefinite.
You are wrong about everything you think. I am. You are. Shouldn't you pursue that forever to see what is most likely that you are not wrong?
Well, if you're saying with like say the beliefs I hold, I always try to find challenging opinions to them to see if they continue to hold true. If that's what you're saying.
No, that's true. I do agree with that. You always hold what you think is I call myself a theist, not an atheist, a theist, because I think there is an ultimate reality of the universe. but that means I challenge that ultimate belief always. Always, I challenge it.
You sound like you're on drugs, man.
No, I don't. No.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
that's
you
fair.
do.
Well, I mean, I
Okay,
think I understand what you're saying. Is that like if I hold a certain belief, I should be open to having it challenged and be willing
Absolutely.
to defend it if I truly believe it's true.
Whatever you hold currently, that's your state, but you allow it to be attacked.
Yeah, and I would consider that, for example, my faith. I don't mind it being attacked because I feel I can defend it with
Absolutely.
no problem.
All right.
And
Well, this has been fun. Thank you for having me on, Grid One, but I gotta go.
Hey man, I appreciate
Take
you
care.
being on.
See ya.
You've been awesome, dude.
Thank you.
We'll have you on again soon.
If I'm
I
able
think
to, I
Andrew's
might
trying
try.
to raid. I've jacked up a setting somewhere. I'm trying to fix it now. So
Andrew has just
I'm looking
an
into
update
it.
on that. Andrew rated Speakeasy because
okay.
of the setting, but regardless, I would advise you to fix that.
Yeah, I need to. I don't know what I did.
Right. And
I had it enabled the other night. I was like, what's going on here? Oh
oh,
well.
and also, you say you do book recommend. I'm going to do a book recommendation if you don't mind.
Excellent. Yeah, please do.
Unprotected Class by Jeremy Carl. Subtitle is How Anti-White Racism is Tearing America Apart. I've been listening to it on Audible. It's pretty good. It's about anti-white discrimination in the U.S. He goes quite a bit about the environmental movement. I didn't really care about that, but that's like his thing. He's like an environmentalist guy. But the book is overall very good. All right, bye.
Hey, can you link though? Oh fuck, dude, drop quick. Fuck.
Well, I just know for a fact that whether or not the other person is right or wrong, no matter how loud you yell it in the mic, is not going to make you right or wrong.
No, yeah. So, well, I mean, I do believe right and wrong exists in objective reality. That's why I'm a theist. What I'm saying is, though, in our interpretation of things, we're in a universe that we're in a universe where we are going to have to make judgments. You can't claim things are not right or wrong. Things may be one thing or another, but you do have to make choices. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
So which choices would you make? I would say, to me, I was baptized in, let's say just general Christianity. I would say that those choices are better than, choices that are just subjective or relative.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think absolute truth exists. And for me, the way to sort of find and confirm that absolute truth is through my faith and through the Bible.
That's fair. I mean, but through the Bible. So this is the rough part. This is for me. I was baptized Mormon, right? I have believed that has been disproven historically. So there's a rough separation for me. I was like, okay, shit, this sounds crazy. So now what do? I have all these religions. There's a whole shitload of them, right? But if you think you have accepted the Holy Spirit into you, what is right and wrong? Is it subjective? Is it not subjective?
It's not subjective.
Of course, right?
So you have God's word given to us in a book called the Bible that very clearly lays out in very basic terms what is right, what is wrong, what is moral, what is not.
Well, no. The Bible is the scripture. The clergy interprets the scripture. You also read it, but then it also comes in through the Holy Spirit, I would assume. I'm not sure about the other part. There's a part in there that's a little different for me, but what do you mean by that?
What do I mean by how does one...
Do you read the Bible, interpret it to yourself?
So the majority of the Bible is written in pretty simple terms where your average person can read it and understand what the intent is. There's certainly portions which are more difficult to interpret. And in that case, you have to go to other sections of the Bible and then certainly go to the priest and church tradition and see how those verses have historically been interpreted more in context.
Okay, fair enough. What about if you have ever felt guilt? Have you felt guilt ever?
Sure.
Does it stay with you forever?
So when there's something wrong that I have done, I will always feel some degree of shame and repentance for that thing.
But
Absolutely.
it stays with you forever, right? Compared to if you did something right, it disappears.
So the consequences of it do stay with me forever, but thankfully, because Christ forgives us, he is able to take away some of the long-term going to hell consequences of that.
See, I feel differently about that. I feel like if I do something that I'm guilty for, it
Mhm.
stays with me every day, every single day of my life, even if it's not a big thing. I'm like, it stays with me. It's on. I'm
So I
just
think
curious.
the important
I
thing to
think I
realize.
think people doubt that guilt is the Holy Spirit telling you you did something wrong, and they shovel it into the back of their fucking mind.
No, so what you're noting is that God tells us He has given us all an innate understanding of what is right and wrong, what is moral, what is not.
Yeah, he has. That's called the
We all
Holy
have
Spirit.
some basic instinct in us that we probably shouldn't go kill somebody else.
No,
We
yeah,
probably
it's
shouldn't
called the
go
Holy
slap
Spirit.
somebody
We
else,
call
right?
it the Holy Spirit.
So we all have that sort of innate understanding. It doesn't lead to salvation, but that exists even if you're not saved.
But if you
I think that's what
doubt
you're
it,
getting at.
what if you
When,
doubt it? What if you doubt it repeatedly? You
so
like
what
you
can
do it. You do it. Like I'll give you an example. I'll give you a personal example.
mhm.
I had a really hard time sleeping at one point in my life. I took an Ambien out of a family member's purse. I put it in my mouth. I went to sleep. I felt very, very guilty. I think about it every single day of my life. Okay? I think about it every day. It was a guilty thing. It was very bad. I admitted it to them. I think about it. It doesn't seem that bad, but I did that.
So what's
But
beautiful about you is you still have that sensitive spirit that tells you when something is right or wrong. When you sin repeatedly, you become desensitized to it. The most
yeah,
perfect example is these OnlyFans girls who they know when they're young, you probably shouldn't sleep around, you probably shouldn't make porn. But once they start doing it and they get over some of that initial shame and initial ick factor, it becomes easier and easier. If you're in the habit of kind of stealing small things from the store, the more you do it, the easier it becomes. Nobody's kind of noticed, you're getting away with it. Life is good. And you can very certainly desensitize yourself to sin the farther you go into it. And it makes it
but
all that much harder to pull yourself back out of it. And I think salvation from God is the only way ultimately you're going to get out of it,
that's fair.
particularly when
But
you've
what
really gone down that rabbit hole.
do they not feel the guilt because we haven't put it on them, or because they don't have the Holy Spirit? What is the difference? There
I
seems
think
to be a
they've
delineation.
to me they've continued to suppress that guilt and suppress that shame again and again and again, and you can keep doing something and become very comfortable with it.
So isn't the solution then shame? Because I would be happy to have people shame me for things I do that are wrong.
I think
Isn't
that's
the
part of
solution
that's
shame?
part of the solution. Yeah, that's part of the
Okay.
solution. Part of it is showing them that this is something wrong and shameful and is not going to lead to a happy life. And then the other part is offering them that hope that, hey, there's an alternative here that you have that can give you a better life and pull you out of this terrible, sinful thing that's entrapping you. And that can go for, I'm using OnlyFans, but that could go for,
No, yeah, you're right. You're right.
alcoholism, for, cheating, for sleeping around, for any sin that someone is deeply involved in that they can't seem to pull themselves out of.
But the important thing is you cannot hide it. It is part of your history. I would never
Yeah.
hide that
Yeah.
from anybody.
No, you're never going to erase the past of what you've done.
Right. Okay. I
You
like
can
you,
have
Melissa.
Christ come in and renew your
Melissa,
spirit.
you got thumbs up from me. I like that shit.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But I
No,
do think
I
that
do
it's
appreciate.
important to emphasize to someone who is struggling with sin that no, you're not going to erase the consequences in your past. Like being a born again virgin is ridiculous, right?
Yeah,
But
it's
you certainly
retarded.
can have a renewing of your spirit and turn around and start to live differently. And you don't have to keep sinning and keep going down that terrible wrong direction. So there is hope for someone who is mired in some sort of sinful behavior that they feel like they can't get out of. And at
I
some
think
point, most
I,
sinful behaviors become so addictive that at some point you almost can't quit doing them without.
I think my issue with all of this, right, is I was, I have a weird experience here, but what I think is people think, oh, Jesus died for our sins in some cases, but they think they don't have to experience the pain. It comes with guilt. You have to accept the guilt of the things you've done that are wrong, and they don't want to do that.
Mhm.
Does that make sense? Does it make
No,
any
absolutely.
sense?
That's certainly
You
the
have
way.
to take that in every day, every part of your life. You don't dismiss it. You know you fucked up. You know?
Mhm. No, absolutely. The very first step to becoming saved through Christ is to acknowledge I fucked up. I've done some really, really crappy stuff and I made a mess of my life. And I don't even think I can get out of this alone. That's the first step, is to acknowledge that. And then the second step is to say, I am trusting in God to save me out of this and to help me turn this mess around. And once you've had that salvation and made that commitment, you can't just keep on doing your same old thing. It doesn't work
Yeah.
like that. You're not going to be perfect initially, but as time goes on, you expect that you are going to start to change and change those behaviors and change and turn away from those things. So
But
as an example, the biggest problem a lot of people see with these OnlyFans girls is they have their big moment of salvation and they're going to change their ways and whatever, and you come back a month or two later and like, oh well, there's still like all these kind of like sexy photos all over Instagram, and there's still all these like kind of salacious comments going on, and we're not really sure if the OnlyFans account is deleted. It's like, what's going on? If I came in, I'm like, hey guys, great news, today I'm a bodybuilder, I'm gonna build those muscles, right? Yes, somebody drinking the protein shakes, hitting the gym, I'm a bodybuilder. Well, you come back a year later and this is still my bicep. You're going to be like, Melissa, dude, you're not a bodybuilder. You haven't gained an ounce of muscle. I don't care if you drank a protein shake occasionally and went to the gym once a week. You're not a fucking bodybuilder. What's going on? And the same way with being a Christian, you come back a year later and you still got these like, sexy pictures all over Instagram and tee. There's something going wrong where you're not on the right path, because when you've truly changed and become a Christian, your behavior will change, your demeanor will change, everything will change.
yeah, I am. We're on the same page. We're digging the same thing. Cheers.
All right. Let me Cam, I'm gonna start kind of winding down. I really appreciate you being on. Melissa and Josie, you guys are welcome to, I guess, stay, but I'm gonna start winding down. Cam, hey man, I really appreciate you being on tonight, man. If that's cool.
You're an excellent debater.
Yeah,
Oh
no, it's good.
Great.
We gotta settle you down from the.
Hey, well,
I need your energy, bro. Like you're.
Grid.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed I've really enjoyed the conversational element of your channel so far. It's very good. I apologize for my raspy voice here. And
You're all right, man.
Today I've done the chats earlier. I apologize. It's bad now, but this has been one of the best channels here because it's very about the patriarchy, about the right direction, not just about winning, right? Like, if you get what I'm saying, like there's a lot of channels out there. It's about winning. Yours is about having a conversation. So I appreciate what you've been doing here. So wind it down, whatever you want.
I'm just kind of redirecting.
I know you don't need money. I know you don't need money.
Yeah. Well, I will actually. I've got Streamlabs set up for donations. I just been kind of lazy about it. So, yeah. But anyway, Cam, I'm just you can just chill or turn your mic off or whatever, and I'm just redirecting it a little bit. The To be honest with you, I hadn't said anything in like 15 minutes, so I got to talk. So yeah, it is. And I'm just kind of joking there, but it's good having you on, man. Thanks a lot.